On the screen we can see the plan that we came up with in the analysis video, and as we touched on in that video, it looks a little bit more complicated, and this is why we don't see both the plan and the code at the screen at the same time. And now that we have this plan, let's try to implement it, and I will take it in steps, and I won't reuse any of the code that we had since before, even if when I'm rewriting it, especially the play function will probably look exactly the same as what we had before, but I will rewrite it here, so we are starting from scratch. What I will start with is to create a new script, and I will write these two functions here, populate dictionary and save dictionary, because I think that as they are very similar, it's going to be easy to write them at the same time using pickle, one for saving it to the file and one for reading it from the file. So that is the first thing that we're going to do. And if we take a look at the code that we have here now, we can see that we have added these two functions, and they are very similar in that they use with open as construct here. So we open the file, and in this case we open it as a read binary, and then what we do is we use pickle and the function load to actually load it back into this variable. And in the other one, what we do is similar, it's just that we are writing to the file instead, and we're using pickle.dump to store our dictionary in the file. And if we now go back and take a look at what we have here, we have the, let's say, we'll write the play function and the display menu function before we write the main function. And I think next up I'm going to write the play function, and this is going to be similar to what we saw before, that right, the function is going to work this way. We display the instructions, and after that there's going to be a loop where we use pop item to get items or key value pairs out of the dictionary, and we're going to use those to display the English word on screen, read the user's answer, and write a message depending on if it's correct or not. And then we go back and continue in this loop as long as there are more key value pairs in the dictionary. So let's see if we can manage to do that in code. I think that is similar to what we had before. We give a message what the user should do, and then we have a while loop as long as we have more key value pairs in words. Then we pick out the English and the Swedish word using pop item. We read the answer, and then we check using lower if they are the same. If so, give this message, otherwise give this message. Let's go back and see, we had one more function to write, display menu. Alright, so let's add display menu too. And we can see here that I have added the menu. Now let's go back and check. The one thing we have left is the main function here, and we're gonna start by adding the loop, and then displaying the menu and reading the user's option, I think. I think that is where we will start. And we can see one benefit here with having our plan since before is that we know that we have these functions here and we have already implemented them. We knew that we needed them, so we have them ready now that we need them here in the main function. So we see here we have started our loop, we have displayed the menu, we have read the user's choice, which menu option they want. So here we now need an if else if statement. Let's go back and look at our plan here to see that all right. The first one here is to create a new dictionary and save it to file. And the second one here is to actually read them back. I think we can add these two at the same time. Right, let's go back and check our plan, what we have next. So we have option 1, option 2, option 3 is to add a new word. All right, a new word, and then 4 is to play. All right, let's add those two. And we can see here that I added the last option too while we were at it. But let's go back here and see what we have done. So we are in a loop that will keep running as long as keep running is true. We display the menu, we read the user's option or the choice of the user. If it is 1, we create a new dictionary and save it using the save dictionary function that we created before. If they select 2, what we do then is that we read the word list or the dictionary from file and store it into words. So it doesn't matter which of these options we choose, we will have a variable called words. If we then select option 3, we can see that, all right, we read 2 words, an English and a Swedish, and then we add that to the dictionary with the English word as the key and the Swedish word as the value. Then we save it to file. Option 4 is to play the game or to ask for all the words. We saw that in our previous script, and I also added the last option here to exit, which means that we set keep running to false. And that is the same thing as we have here in our plan. Now there is one thing left to do, and that is to try to run it and see what happens. And let's see what happens if we try to load a list. Right, and if we go to 4 to practice. All right, let's see, I know this one. And I can say that. All right, we had 2 words. So let's try to add a new word. And the English word is car, and the Swedish one is bil. And we can see here that we have an error. We have forgot something. And what can it be that we have forgot? So if we take a look at the error here, we can see that we're missing one required positional augment words. All right, let's take a look in our code. And we can see here In both occasions where we call save dictionary, we actually, I'll just clean this up a little bit, we are actually missing. We forgot to send along our dictionary. So let's try to remedy that by writing words here and writing words here. So now let's try to run it again after having fixed that error. And if we run it, we can load the word list, and then we can practice. And as you can see, I already have some words in my word list. So sun, the Swedish word is sol, and cat in Swedish, that would be cat. Oh, well done. Let's exit and see if that works. Let's run it again. And this time I'm gonna load, and I'm gonna add a new word. And let's say car. In Swedish that is bil. And now I'm gonna practice. Bil, sol, cat. And then I'm gonna exit. We can see that we have managed to implement this. There is a few things here worth noting. And this is something that we won't fix in this script, but we can learn from it and take it with us for the future. What we have done here is that we have created a way that we can create a new word list, or we can load a previous word list. We are expecting the user to select one of these two before doing anything else here. So we have built in this, I don't know if we should call it bug, but an assumption that the user will select one or two when running the script. Let's see what happens if we run it again and I try to practice right away before loading or creating a list. We can see here that we get an error. And this is of course not good. This is something that we should think about, that all right, if we must do one or two first, then maybe we shouldn't be able to select 3 or 4 before we have done 1 and 2. Another thing that might get us into trouble here is if we load a list and then we practice, and if we think about what we're doing when we are practicing, we are actually removing the key value pairs from the list or from the dictionary, meaning that, all right, after we have practiced, it's empty. And if we then think to ourselves, I will add a new word that I can use the next time I'm running this. The dictionary is empty, we add a word, and then that is saved to the file, meaning that the first words that we had, they have been lost. Even if we have this plan ready and looking at it and following along, we can see that, all right, if I go to 2, I should load it from file, and then I go back and see, we can follow it and see that everything makes sense. We might still run into problems, and those problems usually come up when we test run our application. Then we might have to go back and fix our plan, or if we have made a plan just for ourselves, then we can of course fix it right away in the code. So that is definitely something that we should take with us for the future.